All right, good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us. We're going to get started. And one last reminder, if you haven't already, lunch is in the room right behind me. Feel free to grab a sandwich and some sides. So good morning, and thank you for joining us at our first in-person annual report event in more than 2 years. It feels good to be back in person, doesn't it? We hosted a virtual event last year that solely focused on the health crisis and the education system's response. If you haven't seen that, I encourage you to take a look. It's on our website and other social media channels. And I don't think I need to tell this group what a difficult few years it's been for public education. I see a lot of superintendents, board members, and other folks in the room. I'm Nathan Cavedo, the Communications and Public Relations Officer here at the County Office of Education, and on behalf of the County Superintendent of Schools and the County Board of Education, thank you for joining us at the 11th Merced County Schools Annual Education Report. I'm thrilled to be here in person as, I don't know if you can feel the energy that I have right now. If you've been at an event that I'm hosting or I'm on stage and speaking, you know we're gonna take a couple selfies. So you guys ready? So, first one, here we go. Okay, one for this side of the room. Don't want to miss you guys. Okay, there we go. So as I said, 2 years ago when we hosted the annual education report, that was the inaugural event for this facility, the MCOE Downtown Professional Development Center, kind of a mouthful. I still call it Mondo. How many of you refer to it as Mondo? Oh, okay. I've got a cookie for all of you back here then. So I'd like to thank Dr. Teigen for his vision of turning this facility into a professional development center, not only for the County Office of Education, but for the school districts we serve and for the other community organizations, and revitalizing the building back to its original state. So thank you, Dr. Teigen, for that. So now I'd like to invite members of the United States Marine Corps up to the stage for the Pledge of Allegiance. I ask that you stand and remain standing. All right, you may be seated. Thank you. And thank you to the Marine Corps. We've partnered with them for several years to do this. I think it's great to bring the armed services into an event like this. And I hope you're enjoying lunch prepared by Lori Rizzanelli from Wired Cafe right around the corner, which is an MCOE operation. Her staff and students, they always do a great job with the sandwiches and the sides, so let's give them a round. Our sponsors today are Stiefel, Education Employees Credit Union, Merced School Employees Federal Credit Union, Travis Credit Union, and SKW Associates. We have representatives right up here from several of our sponsors. However, Stiefel was unable to join us, but sent a short video. So let's take a look.
Hello, my name is Erica Gonzalez, and I'm a managing director with Stiefel. We are a longtime partner with the Merced County Office of Education and the gathering for the annual education report. This event provides an amazing opportunity to learn more about the great educational programs and services available to the children throughout Merced County. The last 2 years have tested all of us, but I continue to be in awe of teachers, administrators, and all leaders in education that have tackled unimaginable challenges and continue to ensure that our children are receiving the education they deserve and continue to thrive. At Stiefel, we continue to work with school leaders throughout the state on funding their facilities needs through the issuance of bonds. Our team at Stifel is honored to work alongside many of the school districts in Merced County, including MCOE, as you push for the types of facilities that will meet the needs of your students and prepare them for the careers of their future. We hope to increasingly get the opportunity to do some of this good work in person, but whatever else 2022 brings, please know that Stifel bankers and underwriters will be working hard on your behalf to provide the lowest cost funding for school facilities. Thank you so much.
So I've worked on every annual report. This is the 11th year, and Stifel has been a huge supporter since the very beginning. I don't know how many of you remember Stoneberg and Young. That was the first sponsor. Anybody remember them? That's just one. Okay, I was going to say I got a cookie for you guys in the back too, but only one person. So, but we are also honored to have several guests in the room here today: superintendents, board members, other elected officials, and their representatives. So I'm going to read off my list here for a few of them. Start with superintendents. We have Jay Sarator with Delhi Unified School District. Lori Gonzalez with El Nido Elementary School District, and they're both superintendents. Dr. Mark Marshall, Superintendent Los Banos Unified. From the Merced City School District, Board President Bertie Oliveras Kidwell. Also from the board, Alan Brooks, Shane Smith, and Superintendent Doug Collins. From the Merced River School District, Superintendent Richard Lopez. And Richard's wearing two hats here today. Also with the Merced Union High School District Board. And we have from the Merced Union High School District Board, Amelie Jasing. I'm sorry if I didn't pronounce that right. There we go. Okay. Superintendent Alan Peterson. Planada Elementary School District Superintendent Jose Gonzalez. Representing the Weaver Union School District, Mike Weber. Winton School District Superintendent Randy Heller. And Dr. Chris Vitelli was unable to be here today. He's a superintendent, president of Merced College, but we have Jill Cunningham here from Merced College. Ed Klotzbier from UC Merced. I saw Ed somewhere. It's around here. There we go. A few other folks. Ryan Heller, right here in front of me, with the Office of Assembly Member Adam Gray. Merced County District Attorney Kimberly Lewis. Saw Kim, there we go. Merced County Executive Officer Raul Mendez. Raul, there he is. Welcome to Merced County. The Boys and Girls Club of Merced County Executive Director C. Lee. I saw C somewhere around. There she is. Corey Lucero with the Central Valley Community Foundation. Corey. Robin Donovan with Joie de Vivre, which is El Capitan Hotel and Meinzer Theater. She's right here. Did I miss any board members, elected officials, other folks? Okay, that's always a concern. All right, okay, so let's get on to this report. I would now, well, one more thing. One more thing on my notes here. I would also like to acknowledge some special guests that I'm glad could make it today. My parents are here, Helene and Eubens Quevedo. My father is a retired bilingual teacher from the Atwater Elementary School District, and I want to thank him and educators across the county for their continued work with students and school communities. So thank all of you. Okay, I would now like to invite up to the lectern Merced County Superintendent of Schools, Dr. Steve Teigen.
So it's been 2 years since I've done this in front of a live audience. Most of the time I'm just staring at a camera over the last couple of years. And I'm sure a lot of you are tired of seeing those videos on Facebook or YouTube as they pop up as a annoyance while you're scrolling through your feed. But thank you for being here today. Unfortunately, I've already had one complaint about lunch, and I want to try to resolve that if I can. Does anybody have a snickerdoodle cookie in their lunch? No? You all have chocolate chips? I'm sorry, Casey. We'll work on it for next year. We'll get you a snickerdoodle next year. But really, my thanks goes to Wired Cafe, the students and staff over there do a great job. The brainchild of Lee Anderson years ago, brought to completion by Susan Costin, who's done a fabulous job as our SELPA director and assistant superintendent over many, many years, 22 years, who has announced her retirement this year. And so I don't see Susan in the audience today, otherwise I'd ask for a round of applause. Susan, are you out there? No? Took the day off? No, I'm just... she's just done a fabulous job for us. So it is my honor to welcome you here to our annual education report once again. Before we get into the actual report and its highlights, I'd like to take a minute to also thank the educators of our county, school staff, partners at the Department of Public Health, and parents for enduring the past 2 years. A lot of work goes into the planning and production of this report and the videos and this event itself. Our communication staff are here today, Nathan Quevedo, whom you've met, but behind the scenes making sure all of this comes together, Stacy Arancibia and Patty Espinoza, who work in events, Hector Ramirez and Kathleen Ochoa, who designed and organized the report. Where are you? Raise your hands after I call your names. There you go. Our fabulous photographer, videographer, Dylan McMullen and Nate Gomes, who produced the videos that you'll see this afternoon. Hector joined us a couple of years ago and has done an amazing job designing the report, and it was printed at MCOE's own print shop. We've got quite a team, and I'm incredibly proud of the work they do, and they've been recognized for this work across the state. So MCOE continues to lead in other places besides here just in our own county. So if you guys are waving at me, you got to be more obvious than that because, okay, I'm rusty. So we have plenty to be proud of over the last 2 years. We created a multi-agency coalition to work together to overcome the obstacles of COVID. Our districts opened schools sooner than other counties across the state because of that coalition, because of the hard work of the superintendents, their boards, Kristen Sullivan and Dr. Salvador Sandoval here in Merced County, coming together to overcome conflict, to overcome poor guidance from Sacramento, to overcome, at times, input that was difficult to deal with from the public. We overcame a divisive situation over masking, and we resolved it here in Merced County without major strikes, walkouts, or other fuss that districts across the state have had to endure. And so congratulations to you. One of the key things that we did almost 2 years ago to the day was we met here in this building and talked about how we were going to deal with this pandemic. And when we made that decision on March 15th of 2020 to close schools, we expected it to last 5 weeks. It didn't end in 5 weeks. It's continued. In fact, we still deal with the fallout, and quite frankly, we're going to continue to deal with some fallout over mixed messages from the guidance that we get from Sacramento. We're just going to have to continue to be patient and persevere through these challenges well into the future, even though the mask mandate goes away for our children next Friday at 11:59 p.m. There will continue to be a challenge with how we deal with outbreaks in our schools, students that have to go through a modified quarantine, which means they've been exposed, but they still get to come to school, but if they do, they have to wear a mask. Those rules are still going to be in place, and we're still going to have to mediate them with the public. So we're going to continue to ask for your patience and perseverance as we get through the rest of the school year. You know, we were very deliberate when we chose the photograph for this cover because we wanted to make sure that everyone understands that the children in Merced County have been resilient. And when you look at those faces, you can see the energy in the eyes of those kids. And we continue to see that, even though we struggle at times with their own self-perception of what wearing a mask means. They worry about disease, they worry about their futures, they worry about their older family members. And this will continue to go on, but we're going to need to make sure that as we move forward into the pandemic and this new phase of unmasking being allowed, that some kids are going to choose to keep the masks on. And they're going to choose to keep the masks on because of their own perception of their personal safety. And we have to be good with that too. So let's make sure that as we continue this challenge, we maintain our what I like to call our civic discourse in the public square, so that our kids see us doing what we're asking them to do. So even though we were not able to host most events in person during 2021, our MCOE student events team provided virtual platforms for students to participate and live stream so families could virtually share in the excitement of those events. One of our biggest surprises this past year was through our virtual events like the Children's Symphony and the Children's Opera out at UC Merced. We actually had more participation and more views by students not only from Merced County but across the valley. We doubled our outreach because we went online. So we're continuing to talk with the decision makers at the Symphony like Ryan Heller, sitting right here, got him on the spot, about doing a hybrid again in the future so that kids who don't get to come to the Symphony can still see it in their classrooms. We did learn some things during our Zoom years. You can read more about student events on page 18 in our book. During times of crisis, the state relies on the County Office of Education, and because we weren't able to be out in schools a lot over the past couple years, we decided that our theme this year of our report would be to really describe the role of the County Office of Education, and then also focus on a second theme, which is what is happening with workforce investment and workforce development for young adults in Merced County, because so many times I hear there needs to be more opportunity for workforce training in Merced County. And yes, there does, but you know there's a lot that's going on, and I want to make sure that you all are aware of that today. So we'll see an update from Eric Serrato via the video, and I think you're going to learn some things about what's going on in Merced County that you may not be aware of. So the role of the county office is always one of those questions that people ask me, what is it you do? And so 5 years ago, I met with my leadership team, Janet Riley, Eva Chavez, Susan Costin, who I've mentioned, John Magnuson, and Susan, did I get everybody on the cabinet? Christy Hendricks was here at the time, and we thought about what it was that we do, and we came up with 3 words as our branding message, and now I call it our moral imperative. And it's on your pens. And that message is to nurture. That message is to nurture, serve, and lead. We nurture the children that have the most challenges, the children that are in the most disabled classrooms, the students that have been expelled from their schools and are challenged, having to deal with law enforcement in their lives, the children that are challenged because they're in foster care. We support those kids. We nurture those kids. We serve all 20 districts by providing oversight services, a budget, by providing support services and staff development, by providing migrant services for their migrant youth. We serve all 20 districts that way across the county, and then we lead. We provide leadership opportunities for our districts by providing trainings and by providing other opportunities within our system so that they can become the leader that they want to be. And so that is what a county office does in a 30-second elevator speech, nurture, serve, and lead. And we'll continue to do that. But we're going to talk a little bit more about the details this morning as well. So one of the major functions of our office is also to focus on professional development. And so that is why we bought this building. When I came to the office, I asked our staff, what is it that we need? And without exception, every single department said, we need a place where we can provide trainings and support for staff out in the school districts. And so we did an investigation. We looked at cost of building a new facility. It was twice the cost of this building. And I thought, what a great idea to come downtown and support downtown by having an active place for training where people like you would be. And maybe at lunchtime, instead of having lunch provided, you go out and have lunch at one of the restaurants downtown. And we'd build the community of downtown Merced. And we're seeing that happen now that we're coming out of COVID. And it's exciting to see the energy in downtown Merced. And it's exciting to make connections with downtown partners like Manuel Alvarado from United Way, who, by the way, also helped us with COVID. If you weren't aware, over 200,000 boxes of COVID testing kits came to Merced County because Manuel's outreach. Jose Gonzalez helped coordinate it, and the county office helped distribute it to make sure that our kids had tests before they left for Christmas vacation. The rest of the state didn't get their tests until January. So let's give Manuel and Jose a round of applause for that work. So those are the kinds of things that a county office does behind the scenes. It's not an assigned duty in the Ed Code. We're only assigned to do a couple things in the Ed Code. We're assigned to provide oversight for budgets through our budgeting process, our external business services office, and we're required to provide and approve local control and accountability plans that were created about 2014. And so our staff goes through those plans that districts write in July. You thought we were on vacation. We're not. We're reading the district's local control and accountability plans and getting them approved before August 15th so they can move forward with their year. Those are a couple of the key functions that are in law that the county offices provide. And of course, school district budget approval is key, and it's an ongoing process. And I'm happy to say that here in Merced County, our budgets are strong. Our district boards are fairly conservative. And so they have reserves that will last through any potential downturn for a year or two. And I'm excited to say that happens because people know their business. And so the county office doesn't have to step into it. And that makes my job so much easier, I have to tell you. So a couple other of the big issues that we do handle. I mentioned migrant education already. Did you realize there were 6,600 students in Merced County that are in the migrant program, distributed across all 20 districts? And our migrant program reaches out and provides additional services to those children, additional counseling for those children, additional services for their parents to try to get education or become legal residents in so many ways that no other agency does. And so Migrant Education, Amelia, our director, is here today. Shout out to Amelia for all the hard work her people do every day for those kids. Our SELPA organization, we use that term a lot in education. It's another one of our jargon words. SELPA stands for the Special Education Local Planning Agency, or area, I'm sorry, local planning area. We didn't invent the word, the federal government did back in the 1970s. And what the SELPA is, it's a governance group of all 20 districts that decide how the money for special education is going to be spent and where the services are going to live. And so school districts serve children with mild to moderate disabilities in their classrooms. The county office serves the moderate to severe disabled students in 89 classrooms across the county. That's a number that might surprise you. 89 classrooms across the county that have 12 to 14 children, a teacher and multiple aides, serving kids that really need help. And so that's a big lift, and we thank our district superintendents and colleagues for making this work, because not every county has a single SELPA. And we're learning more about this as the state takes on an investigation on how to make it better. And what we've discovered is we're really doing it well. There are a lot of counties where there are multiple SELPAs. They're chasing the same services. The costs go up. Kids don't get served. And so SELPAs are really kind of under attack right now statewide. And it's a challenge to explain to people where they're working well and why they're working well. But we're going to continue to do that. It's one of the fun things I get to do is advocate, and we'll talk about that in a minute. Head Start and Early Head Start are another big programs that our county office runs. Many other county offices do not run a preschool program. They do not have an early education division. They do not provide an alternative payment program. If you're not familiar with alternative payments program, it's a scholarship program, if you will, for low-income parents that are working on their high school diploma, a college degree, or looking for a job, and they need support for their child care costs. And so they can come to the county office and receive what we call an alternative payment. That payment goes to the child care provider, and there are about 23,000 of those payments that go through our office, that are processed through our office every year. For children here in Merced County, about $20 million goes into the economy because of that program. The other exciting news was that over the last couple of years, we've had 3 new buildings open up for Head Start. We expanded our full-day program, and so Planada has a brand new facility, Livingston has a brand new facility, and Los Banos has a brand new facility for Head Start children so that we can serve those kids all day rather than half day. And so I'm excited to say that we're pursuing more of those kinds of grants that will bring more full-day Head Start to our programs, and we're looking at early Head Start, that's 0 to 3, for the next wave of new facilities. Our last program I'm going to mention today is our extended learning program. We serve 42 schools across the county out of 106 schools in the county. 42 of them are served by the county office for their after-school or before-school programs so that parents can stay at work, not worry where their children are going to be for those hours after school ends. And that is a huge lift because the state only funds these programs at a minimal level. And so as you can imagine, most of the folks that work in those programs are part-time. And so the turnover from those programs, that's the door into our system many times, or school systems. People find out how good it is to work with schools and kids through our after-school program, and then they see a job advertised by the school district, and guess what happens? They leap over to that job. And so we're constantly searching for high-quality candidates to help serve after-school programs. So if you've got anybody you know that's looking for work, send them to our website. Shameless plug. So Ready to Return campaign was something that we did last year, during this past year, 2021, because we were given some additional funding through SB 86. The governor and his staff said we need to get the word out that kids need to return to school. And of course, we're a county where kids had already returned to school in the spring of 2021, but there were, as I said, districts and counties across the state where the schools never opened. And we're still dealing with some of the negative dynamics of that situation. But here, our schools were open, but only about 60% of our kids came back to school last spring when we were all fully open. And so we felt it was really important to get a message out to our kids and their families that we are ready to return. You need to come back to school because your kids are going to thrive when they get back into school. And so that program went really well. We had a lot of good feedback on it. We had great support from Dr. Rebecca Nananjo-Kemp, the Director of Public Health here. We had great support from Dr. Salvador Sandoval, and we had great support from the epidemiologist, Kristen Sullivan, to make all of that happen. And of course, Nathan coordinated it, and I had a little help from my granddaughter. So, the county superintendent, surprisingly to some of you, does not have a lot of authority in law. Many people have the incorrect impression that the county superintendent is the boss of all the school districts. And that's not the case. Each school district has its own governance team of superintendent and board of trustees who actually hire that superintendent. Those board members are elected by the community. And the county superintendent only has really the power of influence. Teddy Roosevelt called it the executive power of the bully pulpit. And so you'll remember that from your history class back in high school. And so that's what I get to do. I get to use this bully pulpit once in a while to make the point that needs to be heard by others. For example, Randy Heller did a great job of getting one of the first vaccination clinics in the state in Winton back in November of 2021. And Randy invited me out to come and do a little intro of the governor. I said, Randy, are you sure you want me? Don't you want to do that? And he said, no, Steve, I'm not running for anything. Not yet, anyway. So I said, sure, I'll come out. And, you know, it was an opportunity to say to the governor that in-person instruction needs to be our focus. We had heard the governor say a month earlier that he was going to mandate a vaccination, and kids were going to have the vaccination before they could come back to school. And I had the opportunity to say, you know, Governor, we all know that these mitigation efforts are really important. But what's most important is that kids be in school and have in-class instruction. And it was gratifying to hear, and about a week later, the governor used the same line. So he does listen. You know, sometimes we wonder, but I think he does. So the other things the county superintendent does that may be a little unique to our county, I inherited this event, for example, coming out to the community and talking to the community about what's happening in our county. And this is unique to Merced County. I have other really enjoyable commitments as county superintendent. I was invited to join the CASA board. CASA, the Court-Appointed Special Advocates, support foster youth. And they do wonderful work in finding people that are willing to volunteer and work with foster youth because foster youth turn over their homes so often. They need a stable adult to advocate for them at school and in court. And, you know, we have a couple CASA people here today. And I want to just acknowledge Betty Wolstenholme, who's on the board, and Casey Steed, who's a CASA advocate. And if I've missed anybody, I apologize, because I know there are many people working for kids behind the scenes in important ways. The Continuum of Care is meeting today. As a matter of fact, I'm missing their monthly meeting. Our Mayor Serrato had signed up for this event, and I said to my staff, well, he can't be here. He's got to chair the Continuum of Care meeting. Continuum of Care is a long name for something that we all want to be dealt with, and that is the homeless problem. The Continuum of Care is the agency the state requires you to have to accept money from the state or from the federal government to provide for the homeless in your county. And so in the last couple of years, the Continuum of Care was moved from United Way as the nonprofit applicant for the money over to the county, the real county down on 21st Street. And they have been doing a fantastic job of bringing in money and helping focus our nonprofits that serve the homeless to do that really well. And I heard just Friday that our homeless count is going to share some good news. I don't have it yet. It was going to be shared today at the meeting I'm missing. But our counts are dropping. And that's because of the efforts of all the nonprofits here in Merced and the efforts of the collaborative applicant, the County of Merced. So Raul, thank you for having your staff do that. Really appreciate it. And then in my off time, county superintendents also get involved in other things. We're all members of the California County Superintendent's Educational Service Agency. And so I sit on the Legislative Advocacy Committee for that group. We meet quarterly, and I get to spend my time getting worked up about bad legislation and then trying to talk to the legislators out of doing that. Sometimes the best thing they can do is to do nothing. I know it's hard to, we're paying people in Sacramento to do nothing, but that's okay, isn't it, Ryan? Yeah, okay, thank you. Ryan's going to be sorry he sat up here by the end of this because I'm going to keep asking these questions he can't really answer. One of the other organizations that we've created here in the San Joaquin Valley is the Central Valley Education Coalition. It's a group of 6 counties: Merced, Mariposa, Madera, Fresno, Tulare, and Kings. And we act as a group to advocate for children in the San Joaquin Valley. And it's a very important group because we are listened to when we go to the legislators in Sacramento. I have several superintendents that join that group off and on, that join us. Randy joins us, Jose, Alan have all had a chance to join us over the last couple of years and advocate for our kids in Merced County. I also happen to have the best job in the county when it comes to scholarships. Being the executive director of the Virginia Smith Trust, and we'll get back to that later because that is the best part of this job. Oh, I guess it's the next slide. So the Virginia Smith Trust, over its 47-year history, has given over $6 million out to students in Merced County, specifically children that went to school in Merced that lived in the county. The criteria is you can live in the county, but you have to go to school in the city of Merced. When Virginia Smith went to high school 100 years ago in Merced, literally 100 years ago, Merced, West Side High, and LeGrand High existed. So you can imagine how many kids in the county had to travel into Merced to go to high school. So today, we only have really the three big comprehensive high schools that are eligible to apply. There are other kids that could apply, but they haven't. The kids that attend our charter school, the kids that attend East Campus, they haven't applied because the other criteria is to meet A through G requirements. That's shorthand for educator speak for kids that took coursework that allows them to attend a four-year campus, a four-year UC or CSU campus. And you have to have a 3.0. So I know you're all thinking right now, would I have qualified? We won't talk about me. So the good news is that this year our board made a decision. For 47 years, the VST board is also, by the way, the MCOE board. The VST board assigned that money that the VST trust had to juniors and seniors in college. You had to have 2 good years of successfully completing college before you applied for that VST scholarship. Now, how many kids remembered to apply? Not many, not enough. And so this last year, our board, staring in face a much larger number in terms of money to give away, realized we need to do something to get the money out. And so they made a decision to copy an idea out of LeGrand High. And that idea is to provide a grant to students that have already met those criteria of 3.0 and completed A through G through their first semester of their senior year. And so at the 3 Merced City High Schools, 197 kids qualified of this year's graduating class, met that criteria. They all received $500 2 weeks ago in an envelope to help defray the costs of either their application fees they had to pay or their future housing deposit they'll have to pay. And I have to tell you, the looks on their faces was pure joy because they were told it might be $200, and when we announced it was $500, they were pretty thrilled. And I've talked to a couple of them as they've filed their application for the full scholarship. It was due yesterday. And Yolanda, we had how many come in by 5 o'clock yesterday? 80. The most we've ever had before is 30. So what a wonderful thing. We're going to be able to give away $500,000 this year. It's really the best part of my job. So Camp Green Meadows has been back in operation this year. We've got a dedicated staff that is up and running day programs, overnight programs. I have to tell you, we had the same challenges all of you have had to restaff that program. If you lost staff during COVID, as we did, you had to go out and recruit people. We were sweating bullets because we didn't have a cook until late January. Our plan was we're going to drive down to Oakhurst and get pizzas at the Round Table or whatever pizza joint it was for dinner every night. Kids were going to be thrilled, but our staff was going to be sick to death of it. But the good news is we did find that cook and a cook's helper, and so we're able to up and run now again, and we have naturalists back on site, and it's exciting. And as you can see from the photograph, our nurses station is complete. We're waiting for a final sign-off by Mariposa County Buildings Department. And I think we might have to go up there and sit in their office to get it done. I think the snow has slowed them down, but it is ready to go. You can learn more about Camp Green Meadows and that mission on page 14 of our outdoor education program. So a couple highlights from around the county. I don't believe Andres is with us today, but Livingston had a national award I want to make note of. Their lead counselor, Alma Lopez, earned a national award, Counselor of the Year, by the American School Counselor Association. And what a great job they've done in building a counseling program in Livingston to make sure their kids stay engaged in school and understand what they need to do to get where they want to go. So congratulations. Graduation rates. You saw an article a couple weeks ago about grad rates in Merced County above the average statewide. We're way ahead of most of the counties in the valley. I've been asked the question in the past, Steve, if we're at 90% and the high schools are districts individually are all above that, why is the county only at 90.3%? And so I have the answer this year, Casey. The answer is, I'm picking on Casey too. You're right there in my line of sight. I know you'll get me back on that radio show. I know. So that other 9% or so, 5.6 do drop out. And that's why we created our comeback charter school, because there is a population here in Merced County that need to finish their high school diploma. There's another about 2.5% that are taking advantage of the fifth year rule and are going to continue for a fifth year. So that's really a good thing as well. There's about 0.5% that transfers out during their senior year. That's kind of a shocking statistic. And there's about 1.5% of our kids that are in special education programs that aren't able to take the high school requirements as specified by the state of California, so they don't get a diploma, they get a certificate of completion. It's one of the things that we're advocating, though, through our SECESA work, that county organization of superintendents, is to change the rules so that we can provide a pathway to all students for a high school diploma. Because if a special needs kid is fulfilling their IEP goal, their individual education plan goal, shouldn't they get a diploma? I think so. So we're working on that. But most importantly to all of you, our districts opened in 2021 when most of the rest of the state didn't. And that is one of those themes I've repeated many times, but it was huge. I can't overestimate, I can't oversell how big that was this past year. Workforce development is one of those things, one of those other major themes I wanted to share with you today. And we have partnerships here. Eric Serrato is here, as introduced earlier. Eric does a fabulous job with WorkNet. He was relatively new to the county. He came during COVID a year and a half ago, but he's jumped right in and made such a difference. And you're going to see Eric's talent in front of the video camera in just a minute or so. We have quite a bit of information about what's happening there. We're going to share it through video, so let's do that now. The Merced County Superintendent of Schools has a permanent seat on the Workforce Development Board, and in that role, the county superintendent is able to connect staff and program to the needs in the community and what the Workforce Investment Board is identifying as key needs in the workforce here in Merced County.
So the Workforce Development Board takes on a number of different projects, all related to making sure that young people and adults have as much access to opportunity as they possibly can. That includes 2 different job centers, one in Los Baños and another one in Merced, as well as the WorkNet Empower program, which serves disconnected youth, and a number of other programs that range from helping folks that are facing homelessness, to folks that are re-entering after incarceration, to individuals that are looking to start businesses.
One of the strengths of the Merced County Office of Education is the connections it builds between partners like Workforce Investment Board, WorkNet, and community training agencies. So MCOE programs serve out-of-school young adults, and many of those programs are focused on trying to connect students with the kind of training that they need to have to work in the field of their choice.
The great thing about our partnership with MCOE is that those programs are already showing lots of success. So one of the things that excites me most is the work that MCOE is doing in connecting rural youth with job opportunities in their very own neighborhoods, and then connecting them to a deeper career pathway that is just going to give them more and more opportunity as they age. MCOE is the expert in this work. It's been doing it for generations, and we're happy to partner with MCOE.
One of the most important things we all learned during the COVID emergency was that without high-quality childcare, parents were not able to return to the workplace.
Parents need to know that their children are taken care of either in school or at a child care center so that they can fully dedicate themselves to their career. What we also know is that there aren't nearly enough home-based child care centers or daycare centers in the county to fill the need. That's brought MCOE and the Workforce Board together in a new novel project that will scale the number of child care centers and child care slots across the county. It'll help improve care and make it even more accessible. It'll get employers much more connected so that childcare is being provided either on site or near their workplace, which is just going to make life so much easier for parents. It's absolutely essential that we figure this out so that the economy can come back roaring.
What our K-12 school systems are trying to do today is really prepare students for a 21st century reality that we haven't lived. And so we know that preparation includes both workforce training and preparation academically. Students need to be able to make a choice themselves after high school, but in order to make that choice, they have to be prepared in basic academics as well as the soft skills of how to provide service, how to listen, how to take initiative, those things that the workplace values first.
Ultimately, the Workforce Development Board and MCOE have the same goal, and that is to enrich the lives of learners of all ages so that they get the skills and the education they need to become self-sufficient.
What we're trying to do with our programs and our K-12 institutions is provide a web of support that will help that student get to that senior year, that graduation day, and know that they're able to either go on and compete at a college level or university academically to prepare for a professional level job, or they've developed enough skills and self-confidence so they can enter the workforce and have a productive life that's comfortable and they can take care of a family. Nice job, Eric. I have to up my game. I guess I have to rehearse more because Eric just does such a great job, doesn't he? That was great. So you've already heard a little bit about our Foundations in Education program that we're building. It's a new effort, and because we have such a need, this is critical that we move this forward. You know, I've talked about this in previous annual reports. We've got about 25,000 children ages 0 to 5. Now, the state is helping us create a new grade level called TK4. 4-year-olds are going to get to go to a TK classroom in this coming year in most districts. We don't know where we're going to put them, but we're trying to get ready. We love it when the state gives us a new idea without an implementation plan. I think their plan was that, you know, in the urban areas, enrollment has declined, so they're empty classrooms all over the place. In Merced County, that's not the case. So our staff and our districts are really having to work to find a place for those kids to come. But additionally, we need to have more places for kids to be in private daycare settings. And those folks need training. They need to understand the theory and practice of early childhood development. And so we're working with Eric and his staff to put together a strong workforce empower program for training early care educators. Exciting stuff this coming year. So we also operate several programs that help out-of-school youth, out-of-school adults. Empower is our in-house training program. Many high school districts run their own career technical education programs. In fact, Merced Union High School District and Los Banos Union Unified run programs really without any help from MCOE. The other smaller high schools all are funded for an additional teacher or two from MCOE to help support their career technical programs. Our Comeback Charter School was established to also help those out-of-school adults get that high school diploma so that they could be successful. Our Phoenix project that we've talked briefly about, you're going to hear about more in this next video, is filled a specific niche for offenders, people who've had incarceration in their background. And so I'm not going to say anything more about it. I think you should watch the video. Let's take a look.
One of the things that every community is trying to figure out is how to support its transition-aged youth. These are young people between 16 to 24 that just don't have any opportunity. Many of them would have normally graduated from high school and gone on to college, but we know that college enrollment has dropped by more than 20% nationwide, and even here in Merced County. We know that those young people aren't connecting to their first job like they normally would, and they're not in vocational programs. That's where MCOE steps in. The Workforce Development Board and MCOE are partnering on a variety of different programs for that age group to make sure that there's an opportunity there waiting for them. We hold their hand through the whole skill development process and connect them to a good job.
Our special education transition program also has a specific entry point into the workforce plan, and that is to provide students experience through Wired Cafe, where they can learn some retail skills. Another one of our wonderful opportunities for our transition students is a partnership with El Capitan Hotel, where they're going to be trained in housekeeping, and they'll have an opportunity at El Capitan in their housekeeping department in the near future.
Our largest investment and partnership is in the Empower program, which is designed to help hundreds of young people who have either dropped out of school or have not been connected to a good opportunity find a way to a good job, to a vocational scholarship, to the mentorship, and to the career counseling that's going to help them get ahead.
Both Adult ROP and Empower are great factors in our workforce development here in Merced County, because in both programs, we're preparing our clients to get to work. So for some of them, it's re-entering the workforce, and for most of them, it's they've never had a job and we're preparing them for their very first job.
One of the programs I'm most proud of here at Merced County Office of Education is our partnership with the Merced County Probation Department. We've worked together to create something called the Phoenix Project. The Phoenix Project focuses on former felons that are looking to really change their life. And so they have an opportunity to finish a high school diploma, they have an opportunity to have some workforce training, and then get into a school that provides a certificate so they're able to leave that program and go get a full-time job. And the person most responsible for making this a success is Tula Eccles. Tula has done a great job and in fact was nominated and received a statewide award for her work with probation.
So the Phoenix Project is designed to help participants in Merced County figure out a career path that will be fulfilling and will provide livable wages. The Phoenix Project is actually in collaboration with Merced County Probation, and we actually designed it to help people that have been either released from prison or jail. It's to help them with education support, where we send them to training or we send them to go get their high school diploma or GED. I believe that the Phoenix Project plays a huge role in developing our workforce in Merced County. We currently have 69 participants that are employed that are contributing to society, compared to 69 incarcerated participants that would cost the taxpayer $70,000 a year. So I believe that without the program, they wouldn't have had the opportunity to get the training for those jobs. I had a young man that actually came in and he wasn't aware that he only needed 15 credits for a high school diploma. So I was able to refer him to the Comeback Charter School, where he finished his 15 credits and he is now an employed truck driver.
Merced Scholars Charter School and Comeback Charter School were both started as an alternative to the more traditional programs that are in the area. What we do is we provide an alternative means to gauge their attendance, to gauge their work, and to help them progress through their academics in a different type of way. Merced Scholars and Comeback, what we focus on, in addition to the academics, is really building the interpersonal skills that we want the students to have to be successful after they finish with us, especially with our adults. Our adults don't just need the diploma or the additional training, they also need the skills to make sure that they're going to be employable and maintain that employment throughout their career. What I really enjoy about working in alternative education with charter school programs is that the success we see with our students on an individual basis. The students that have children of their own, getting that high school diploma from comeback sets that example for future generations.
My kids were attending Merced Scholars, and their math teacher, Ms. Tatum, explained to me that they were going to have a program for adults that have dropped out of school and that I should get into that program. My experience with Comeback Charter, it was pretty good. For one of my teachers, Mr. Perry, he was very supportive. He was very understanding. He just kept pushing me, telling me this is my goal and this is what I came here, to conquer, and for me not to give up. I really think if I had that type of support in high school, I would have graduated with honors.
We're so glad to talk with you today about the great work that's going on in Merced County in classrooms to help prepare students for the workforce or for college and university. We are lucky to have a dedicated workforce across Merced County, whether it be preschool, K-12 education, community college, or the UC, that are all committed to student success. Thank you for being here today, and I look forward to working with you in the future. Whenever I'm at a presentation, I always wonder, now how many slides are left? They said they were done. 2. Oh, Mayor is here. Mayor, how did the meeting go? COC? Okay, thank you very much. I'm glad we talked about what a great job you're doing while in your absence, so thanks for making it. The point you've already heard, I just want to, one more shout out to Tula. She's sitting right over here for her great job and recognition statewide. So I didn't know until recently, in fact, it was just yesterday, Nathan Cavedo told me he didn't believe in QR codes. Well, he didn't believe they were going to really ever grow legs. But because we said, well, we need to do an evaluation, but all that paper, can't we do something else? And so here's who wants to read all that stuff? Here's a QR code, take out your phone, click on it. You can answer a few questions for us, that'd be great. What are you interested in hearing about next year? How can we better reach the community? Those sorts of things. We're looking for feedback all the time. That's what makes us better. So with that, I just have this last slide where Nathan said, Steve, you can make some final comments. This is where my family worries. Just 3 points to make. They're looking at each other. Just three points to make. Point 1, if you look into the report and you don't see test scores and you're wondering where they are, they're not there, so don't keep looking. And they're not there purposely, because this past year, given what kids have been through, they wouldn't be reliable or valid. So we said we're not going to do that. All right, I'm seeing a lot of heads nod. And what's more, we should never do that. If you really want to know how well a child's doing, talk to the child, visit their classroom, talk to their teacher. That's a much better indicator of what the child's getting out of their education than looking at a standardized test score once a year. We've all been slaves to standardized test scores coming out once a year for way too long. It's time we say no. So, and if you want to have that conversation with me, you can meet me at the Partisan later on, and I'll buy you an adult beverage. Okay, so furthermore, if you want to find the test scores, you can find them online. But really, let me encourage you to talk to the kids. And finally, leadership requires that we put our money where our mouth is. And so what we're going to do here at Merced County, because we know that for kids that don't qualify to go to college to get that VSD scholarship, we know what the barrier is. The barrier is, the gatekeeper is mathematics. So we wrote a grant. There was a grant application that came out this fall. We worked with Stanford University. We've been working with Stanford University for the last 3 years to develop stronger math programs in our schools. And we thought, wow, we've got a great chance to get this grant, $15 million. We didn't get it, and I'm ticked. So we're going to put some of our money into a mathematics program that will provide support for our teachers and our board members to understand how we need to adapt math instruction in the next 10 years so that our kids can go to college if they choose and have the test scores that they need and take the classes they need so that they're competitive with kids around the state. And so what do we call it? I don't know whether it's going to be the Merced Math Acceleration Program or whether it's going to be the something else, but we're going to do that. We're going to invest $2.5 million over the next 5 years to do that. I want to thank you for coming today. I want to encourage you once again to click on the QR code and prove me right that people do use them. Nathan and I have a side bet, and I have to buy him something down at the Partisan, I guess, if I lose. Again, thanks for being here, and if you have other questions about the program, we're always happy to meet with you individually, and rest assured that kids in Merced County are getting what they need from their schools, and teachers and administrators and superintendents and classified staff and bus drivers and food service people have been working their butts off for the last 2 years to make sure that happens. So thanks again for being here. Enjoy the rest of your lunch. Next year we'll have a plethora of cookies. Have a great afternoon.